And that's very, very good because we're curious about Mars. So, it's landing August 5th at 10:18 p.m. Oh, hey, you're here. Good job. All right, so it weighs 900 kilograms, which is a lot of weight. For those of you not metrically inclined, for all of our imperials out here in the crowd, that's about 2,000 pounds. So this is the heaviest payload anyone has ever tried to land on the surface of Mars. Anyone. And of that 900 kilograms, 110 kilograms of it is scientific payload, which that's a lot of science getting sent to the surface of Mars. And that's great because the previous rovers, the Mars exploration rovers, weighed 185 kilograms each. And they carried about 8 kilograms of scientific instrumentation with them. So our scientific payload on this is almost as much as a regular Mars exploration rover weighs. That's pretty incredible. And it's going to spend 2 years on the surface of Mars, somewhere in there, and it's powered by an RTG. Who knows what an RTG is?
It's a nuclear
power plant.
Yeah, it's a nuclear power plant, basically. It's a nuclear battery. We take plutonium-238, and we use the heat from the decay of it in order to power the rover. So we don't use solar panels. So that means if there's a dust storm, we don't have to worry about power going down on it. And if it's nighttime, we can continue to use the rover, which is really cool. So we could like take photos at night, and we could look at the conditions on the surface at night. We haven't been able to do that since Viking. So, and that was in the 70s. So you gotta imagine that we're very, very excited about nighttime on Mars. And it's not just because of the great parties that they throw on Mars either. So it is RTG powered. Of course, you're probably saying, plutonium, no, I don't want it. Plutonium-235 is what goes in nuclear reactors. So plutonium-238 is actually really nice plutonium. It really won't bug you all that much. And overall, it's the awesomest rover we've ever sent to Mars.
Is that a technical term?
This is a technical term, so future engineering students, please learn this as we go in. Yes?
Is it only maximum 2 years? Because they were, Spirit and Opportunity were only supposed to go 90 days, and it's 5 years now.
Excellent point. Somebody just asked me, is this a maximum of 2 years? Well, the warranty, if you will, so to speak, is 2 years on this. It's designed to last at least 2 years. Of course, it will probably go well beyond that. In case you didn't know, the Mars exploration rovers, Spirit and Opportunity, landed in January of 2004, and Opportunity is still working today. Spirit ended its mission in March 2010, just a little over 6 years and 2 months into its mission. Opportunity is still rolling today, and in fact, today is day number 3034 of operation on the surface of Mars. And of course, Mars is not a very friendly place. It's an average temperature of negative 80 degrees Fahrenheit, high radiation, dust that is smaller than the human hair in width, so it can get through any little crack you could possibly think of. Very unforgiving environment, negative 200 degree Fahrenheit. Nights on Mars, so very amazing that they've been able to get it to last that long. So very, very cool. Now, this is basically like sending my car and excited me to the surface of Mars. And of course, I want to live, so I'm going to take some supplies with me, and I'm probably going to eat those supplies on the way there. Oops. So, how excited are people about this rover? Okay, I found this video from JPL. And this is great. And somebody was asking me about the robot dance earlier that we do for this. Well, this is where we got the rover dance from. Because engineers are actually so excited that even they are dancing in front of these rovers. So take a peek at it. Ready? Here we go. Coming in from my side down here. There we go. There's an engineer. He's very excited. So, people are very excited about all of these things happening on Mars at the moment. And now we're back to engineering mode. All right, so very, very awesome what we get to do with that. Now, there's some really cool things about this rover, such as the wheels. The wheels originally were designed with JPL's logo in it, and NASA said, you can't do that, because that's advertising on another planet, and you're not allowed to do that. You can't endorse a product, you're not allowed to do that. We can't go, you know, you just landed a Gale crater, what are you going to do? I'm going to go to Disneyland. You know, we can't do that. So engineers, being a sneaky bunch, decided to put JPL and Morse code on the wheels. So as it's rolling over, the surface of Mars, it's going to be putting JPL in Morse code in there. So in case you're wondering, JPL. Which we thought is pretty awesome. And they got away with it, which is even better. So. All right, so now we're going to watch the launch of MSL. How many of you were at the launch of MSL? Like physically at it? Okay, we have one person, a couple people. Tweet up? Tweet up, awesome. And if you know what a tweet up is, you do. If you don't, you should know. So go home and Google, social.
Yes.
NASA Social, I'm sorry. I got the name wrong. All right, so let's watch the launch of Curiosity here. And Curiosity was launched on an Atlas V 541, which is one of the most powerful rockets that we have in our arsenal of rockets. 2 million pounds of thrust. It's about 200 feet tall. One liquid-fueled first stage with 4 strap-on boosters, and then a liquid-fueled Centaur upper stage. So we only need 2 stages to get to Mars now, which is a good improvement. And if you're wondering where the rover's at, it's up in here in the payload fairing. Now look at how big it is. There's a truck down at the bottom. It's a big rocket. If you want one of these, it's $131 million.
10.
So save your allowance now.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4,
Sell it.
3, 2, 1.
There it goes.
Liftoff of the Atlas V with Curiosity as we conclude the planetary puzzle about life on Mars.
So this rocket weighs about 2 million pounds on liftoff, and you can imagine seeing all that weight move away quickly. It's a lot of power. It goes 0 to supersonic in about 25 seconds. It gets you the orbital velocity, 17,500 miles an hour in 4 minutes. It's actually so powerful that if we strapped you onto it, the G-forces would cause you to expire. So you would not survive launch. That's how powerful this rocket is. Of course, when those solid rockets are done burning, they're dead weight, so we just toss them off of the rocket and they fall back into the ocean. Yep, exactly. Goodbye. You did your job. We don't need you anymore. I think this is separation. Yep, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Excellent. And now some fish as a house. This is a view from the first stage during separation. And there's the engine starting up, and there it goes. There's second stage up there with MSL on it. Here comes the cool part. They put a camera on top of the second stage behind MSL. So we got to watch this live as it was separating. And it was the first time we ever got to do that with a spacecraft. It was basically the coolest thing ever. And there it goes. See you later. Of course, that was the day after Thanksgiving. We launched it with the most powerful rocket that we could, and it still took 9 months to get there. So, do you see why we might not be sending humans there? Because it takes a long, long time. So, how many of you know how MSL is landing? And I'm talking like, if I quizzed you right now, you could tell me every single component involved in landing. Okay, suddenly half of the hands just went down to like 0. Okay, so let me educate you. We're going to become learned doctors in here. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to watch an animation done by our friends up at JPL. Those awesome people. It's the upper stage. In case you're wondering, that's called a Centaur upper stage. So now you all have become rocket experts today. You go back. And it's going to spin it up to speed, so that way we don't have to use the fuel on board of our spacecraft to get there, and it's going to separate. Now, there we go. Close enough. Of course, we're leaving Earth at about 32,000 miles per hour, so a little fast. There it goes, on its way. And it has thrusters on board where we can correct its course on its way. Like now. There we go. So, of course, the solar panels there keep it nice and good. And of course, what we're about to see is actually about to happen in probably about 3 minutes. And this whole sequence you see will happen in 3 minutes. So, actually 9 months later. We dropped the cruise stage. We don't need that anymore. There's also tungsten ballast in here that keeps the center of gravity on the rover. We throw that off before it enters the atmosphere. So we've just given Mars a little bit of tungsten. Now this is going to hit the atmosphere at 13,000 miles per hour. This heat shield is going to heat up to 1,600 degrees Fahrenheit due to friction. And we actually have thrusters because we're going to be aiming this thing as it flies into the atmosphere. First time we've ever attempted to aim something when we land it on another planet. I mean, we're talking, it's going to land in an area 4 miles by 12 miles, over 330 million miles. It's pretty good accuracy. So we set it up to fly hypersonic through there, which is super fast. Throw off some more ballast, and then we have our supersonic parachute open up while it's still moving at twice the speed of sound. Literally shoot that thing out of a cannon. Anyway, we pop the heat shield off. Landing radar on the bottom of the rover starts activating, and it tries to figure out how high am I, how fast am I moving, when do I need to release myself, how fast do I need to release myself at. And then we release it, and we activate rockets. And we descend propulsively to the surface of Mars. And it's great. It's fantastic. And we're coming down. And what's really cool is on the bottom of our rover, we have a camera. And we're not going to see that camera tonight because we want to make sure it lands. This camera is going to actually take 5 frames per second higher than HD resolution as it comes down. Now, if we landed with the engines, it would blow dust back on the rover. We don't want that. So what do? We use a tether, and we lower it on a tether while it's still attached to this rocket pack. Because if Iron Man can do it, we can top him easily. And then we're going to very gently lower this $2.5 billion vehicle on the surface of Mars. And as we do that, once it detects it's down, cuts that, the descent stage flies off. And, hold on, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. And then we have it on Mars. So, there is your mom and dad's car, or my car, on the surface of Mars. Wait, my car. So, any questions? It's easy. It's easy. This all looks crazy. It really does, but it's actually the most sound engineering that they could do for that. Basically, we're using the same things that the Viking landers and the Phoenix lander used, except instead of taking our engines all the way down to the surface, we're going to lower it under the engines. So it's actually something we've done before. We just decided to throw in the tether. Not for fun, but because we need to. Now what's cool, MSL has a laser on board, so we can actually zap rocks that we can't reach, and we can we can actually look at what those rocks are made out of, just from the gas that we vaporize off of it. And then we have this amazing arm on the front that we can take out, and we're no longer just scraping rocks like the MER's rovers did. We're actually going to drill up to 3 inches into rocks and take core samples, which is like awesome. Keyword tonight, awesome. So, and it will drill down into there, and then of course, on the inside of our rover is where the majority of that 110 kilogram scientific payload is at. And that's an X-ray spectrometer there. It analyzes things, it figures out what they're made out of. So if you're a planetary geology person like I am, this is the most exciting thing ever out of the entire animation. Forget the beginning of it. This gets me excited. So we're going to be doing the first direct analysis of Martian rocks and soil with the equivalent of what you would find in a geology lab here on Earth. How awesome is that? And of course, everybody's saying this rover is going to find life. No, not quite. It's going to maybe find signatures that say there might possibly have been. This rover will not answer the question of is there life there or has there ever been life. It can find organic compounds, but of course a majority of organic compounds, which are the stuff that make you up, are naturally occurring. So we have to figure out a couple that we have to throw out, and we have to find very specific ones in order for it to be life. But what this is mainly looking for is, was Mars ever habitable, and is it still habitable? Is there a habitat that life could have lived in, or is there still one that life can live in? And of course, if we find that yes there was, or yes there currently is, especially if yes there currently is, you can bet we're going to have a follow-on mission going back to this one. So unfortunately, the follow-on mission for MSL, called ExoMars, was going to be a US, European, and Russian collaborative mission. And unfortunately, one of the problems is that we have this thing called a budget and not a lot of leeway for the budget, and unfortunately Congress didn't give NASA the money to allow us to continue to participate in ExoMars. So we had to pull out of that earlier this year. So if you don't like that, there are these people called congressional representatives that you guys can send letters and angry phone calls to, and you can let them know that you don't appreciate that. Of course, you can also just say it's okay. You don't need that, but that's okay. All right, so we're gonna go back to looking at MSL in real time. I'm going to take a couple of questions over the next 120 seconds, as many as I can, as we look at Mars Science Laboratory currently approaching Mars. Oh my goodness, it's become so much bigger. So, all right, any questions? Any questions I can quickly answer? One way in the back. Yes, the seven minutes of terror is when this first starts to experience the atmosphere all the way down to touchdown. So that's what that is. So how many of you saw that 7 minutes of terror video? That's a pretty awesome video. So we should make movies like that, you know, scientifically accurate. Other things. So we're actually 15 minutes away from cruise separation, so when that gets to -10, we'll go ahead and pop over to JPL and look at their live feed. So we are 25 minutes away from entry and 32 minutes away from touchdown right now. So questions? Does this have a microphone on it? No, unfortunately. I know the Planetary Society has been lobbying for quite a while to have a microphone on a vehicle, so that way we can actually hear what Mars sounds like. That is the coolest thing ever. Unfortunately, they didn't have enough payload area in order to put a microphone on it. They did have a microphone on Mars Polar Lander, but of course we know how that ended up, which is learn your metric. So, whoops. Yeah. Where's the other half landing? So the cruise stage or the descent stage? Because the cruise stage is going to burn up in the atmosphere. The rocket pack is going to cut, and it's going to fly until it burns all its fuel and then crash into the surface of Mars. Nope, no instruments on board. Well, electronics to make sure that it flies down correctly, but overall, there's no instruments on board. So I saw, oh, right in the back, young man. How's it going to return? Well, one way we can have that happen is you can become an astronaut and you can go pick it up for us. And I think that you should. And I'm telling you right now. So here's how you're going to do it. You're going to get really good at science and you're going to get really good at mathematics. Because if you get really good at mathematics, you can do any science you want to. So I'm expecting at least quantum mechanics by 6th grade. So, but in all seriousness, and seriously, you could be a part of the team that brings this rover back. But when we go and we send out these probes, we don't have the intention to bring them back. So once it lands on Mars, it's there. So we're not going to be bringing it back. You guys saw that Atlas V? We need a rocket that big to get it back from Mars. And you can imagine we need like 20 rockets just to carry that one rocket and all the pieces to Mars. So unfortunately, we're not going to actually get this back. But I'm expecting you at my doorstep 40 years from now with the camera mast from this. Deal? Deal? Okay, good. All right, so I'll give you $5. So, who's got any more questions that we may have tonight? Yes?
How did they pick the landing site and what's unique about it?
All right, so great question. How do you pick a landing site? So it's landing at Gale Crater, which is currently on this part of Mars. In fact, I think I can have it go to landing site. Oh, I can. So let's take a look at Gale Crater, actually. Let's go to the landing site. There it is. So this is the very accurate landing site where they're landing at. They're landing at Gale Crater because inside of this crater right here is a mountain. That mountain's about 6 kilometers tall. And we think that mountain is there because sediments laid down in that mountain. There it is, Mount Sharp, right there. And the reason we're landing here is because there's sedimentary layers, which tells us that something has deposited Martian soil and rocks over time. And from that, just like how when you cut into the ground, there's layers of rock, And as you go down and down and down further, you go further and further back in Earth's history. The same thing applies to Mars. So by landing here, we're not just going to learn about recent history of Mars, like 10,000 or 20,000 years ago. We're going to be looking millions of years, if not hundreds of millions of years back. And Gale Crater provides that opportunity because of the sediments that are inside of Gale Crater. So that's one reason. There's also sulfates there, which if you know a little bit about minerals, sulfates are really good at keeping organic compounds safe. They're very, very good at that. So if we want to find organic compounds, we should look in sulfates. And that's one of the reasons why. That's another reason why they did that. So let's go back with MSL on its way to Mars. Any more questions? I thought I saw someone in the back. Yes?
Yes, when will we know and how will we know if it landed safely?
Excellent question. When will we know and how will we know whether MSL has landed? Well, it's going to land at 10:18 p.m. Pacific time. Soft or crash, it will land at that time. The thing that we have to wait for is that if you look up here, I have a little chart up here if you haven't seen it. It's currently the distance of MSL from Earth, and it's at about 154 million miles. And on top of that, we have one-way light time, which is currently 13 minutes, 47.95 seconds. So we're going to have to wait about 14 minutes before we can even get the first confirmation signals. So that means at 10:32 p.m. is when we would expect to start seeing the first confirmation signals. Now, as JPL was saying this morning, the rover could go into safe mode, and if it goes into safe mode, it says, I'm not going to do anything, I'm going to go on a frequency, and they're currently not looking for that frequency as the spacecraft go over. So we might be waiting days. It might be till Friday before we hear that, oh yes, the rover has successfully landed. But of course, we're hoping that tonight it does A-okay, and at 10:32, we're all going to jump up and down, high five, hug, and congratulate each other. So it's actually going to be not communicating with Earth, because Earth is going to be below the horizon on Mars. It's going to communicate through a satellite called Mars Odyssey. So just like how we use communication satellites here, well, currently MRO, Mars Express, and Mars Odyssey are there, and they're all triangulating at the same time so they can do total coverage of EDL. So that way we can know what's happening in real time as it happens. So I got time for one more question before we go off to JPL. So, yes?
Where does you know how it carries the rover? Where does the jetpack?
The jetpack, it flies off and it crashes somewhere far away from the rover. We don't want that to stay there, because if it runs out of fuel, it falls on the rover, we just broke our rover. So, not good. So they designed it to fly away. Okay, one more question. I know someone has a dying, burning desire question. How come it doesn't have solar panels? Excellent question. Well, solar panels, you can only use them during the day. Obviously, you have to have them aimed at the sun as best as you can, and if there's a dust storm, or if you're like on Mars, where Martian dust and soil carries a static charge very, very well, and it sticks to your solar panels. That's why we don't have solar panels. We have an RTG instead, which is basically a nuclear battery, and that's going to last, well, the RTGs on Voyager 1 are still working, and those were launched in 1977, so if this rover is very gently treated, we could see something lasting up to 30 years on the surface of Mars, but we have to land it first. So that's the most important part. So I am going to turn over the show to JPL. I'll probably chime in every once in a while, but everyone, thank you for listening to me tonight. I will still be here. I will still be here if you need me. And I will be providing the inception horns at major mission milestones as well. So we'll explain some things to you in case you guys don't understand it, but here we go to JPL.
And so that's why this information is so essential. But if we don't get it and we land safely, that's still okay too, even though it's just nerve-wracking.
Okay, so Rob, we're going to keep you here while we go through entry, descent, and landing. He'll be there to give us his wise knowledge and all this. But meantime, let's go back into the MSA and get ready for entry, descent, and landing.
Right on time. That is the control room at JPL up in
Things are
Pasadena.
pretty good right now. I'm getting a report right now from Odyssey that they're in position. They're going to be there for us for EDL. So they have reacquired to the Earth, and we're good to go. So we will have coverage throughout EDL through a little bit from about a minute and a half after entry through touchdown and then some. So hopefully we'll see all the way to the bottom and see a successful landing.
Just to let you folks know, in the red hallway are where restrooms and water fountains are at.
EDL activity is about to narrate what's going on in the spacecraft. We're entering the EDL prep anchor. That's a EDL SWAT software mode. So let's listen.
And we are on Twitter at Downey Space and Facebook at Columbia Memorial Space Center.
IVP has stopped.
Awesome haircut.
And the EDL prep anchor is complete. Okay, copy that.
I'd like to be that young and
We're
working
about 3 minutes from the HRS event. Anchor action starting.
The activity lead has told us that we've turned off the attitude control system, the cruise attitude control system. We don't need it anymore. We're standing by for heat rejection system. That's the coolant that's been keeping us cool through all of the cruise. We'll vent that ahead of cutting the cruise stage. So we're coming up on cruise stage separation.
Go ahead, phase.
Anytime you guys want to shoot me any results from the
You're on Twitter.
I guess is the way I'm going to go now, because the screens are going to transition into having your beautiful faces on it instead of your estimates from the
Flight EDL, the EDL. HRS bank actions have begun. Roger.
Phase, we should have our EDL viz on there when we get UHF data.
So they will have a visualization for us to see once they get the data in the signals.
For receiving best estimates as they come in on the landing location off of the time point correlation.
No pressure at all.
Copy, I understand, and we are on it. You will get it in the usual communication window.
The expected warnings for the Electra scale mode
15 minutes to entry.
received. Copy.
The EL team is running some final simulations to show where we think we're going to end up based on the latest navigation data. Things continue to look good. It puts us right in the middle of the ellipse.
3,330 miles.
From the BCB, actions have been commanded, and through EHA we confirmed that the discharge beds are now in manual discharge.
Vehicle power changes in preparation for cruise stage separation. It's going to cut loose the cruise stage and all that solar array that's been powered
4.5 minutes for that.
through all of the cruise.
Pyro firing cards are now powered on.
Go ahead, EDL com. So we're ready to switch the displays over to the 1010 marker, which will show EDL data, manual tones. You ready?
11,510 miles per hour and gaining.
Standby 1. Yes, we are ready. Copy that.
That is not me.
And we can confirm through EHA now that the BCBs are in manual charge mode.
Copy, BCBs in manual charge.
We've also completed enabling the pyros commands. We are in the process of powering off the cruise stage hardware. And we can verify through telemetry that the cruise stage hardware is powering up.
Yeah, cruise stage is turned off.
Flight pyro bus is armed.
Copy, thank you, Pyro.
And enabled.
Power electronics that are used to activate many of the devices that are going to be used to cut the cruise stage, and a lot of the separation events during EDL have been armed. Nav is confirming that we are starting venting. HRS vent has started.
And flight EDL, we're firing our first pyros to vent the HRS system. The RTDP warnings are expected.
navigation team can see that the fluid coming out of the heat rejection system is actually pushing the vehicle a little bit, as expected. So we can confirm that the vent is actually happening.
Odyssey Com, Odyssey Mission Manager on EDL Ops. EDL Com, this is Dynamics on EDL Ops. Go Dynamics. Is our display configured correctly for you in the MSA? Affirmative. I see it. Waiting for X-band tones. Very nice picture. And we're expecting tone start at 5:13:17 UTC. Copy.
We're under 2 minutes from cruise stage separation.
11,800 miles per hour.
Odyssey Mission Manager on EDL Ops.
Currently 5:48 a.m. Coordinated Mars time at Gale Trader.
Odyssey Mission Manager, this is EDL Ops on EDL Ops.
Odyssey has completed its salute of the EDL Com attitude. All systems are nominal. Odyssey is go for EDL Com support.
Great to hear from you. Thank you very much.
So the Odyssey spacecraft is in position to capture signals in real time from MSL.
We have a cruise stage step about to happen.
For all of EDL,
70 seconds.
Have their coverage. Things are looking good for them, and they're looking good for us. For about 1 minute to cruise stage separation.
1 minute.
Seeing the transition to.
Of course, that's what's happening right now.
The system should be configured.
We're not going to get the signals confirming it for another
And we're
14
seeing
minutes.
carrier only.
The vehicle's changing to tones at this time. So we're switching from telemetry, we lost telemetry, and we're going to move to just tones.
EDA acquisition. And we're seeing heartbeat.
We are receiving heartbeat tones at this time.
11,350
We're seeing the expected 2 seconds of heartbeat, followed by a 10-second carrier pulse. Now we can see something that would be consistent with cruise stage separation in the log. I'm showing a good strong signal, higher than expected carrier power, and continuously heartbeats. EDL Com tones look good.
Actually, just to let you know, they're not talking about what's happening in real time. They're actually talking about the signals they're getting right now. So I
Things
just
are looking
noticed.
good.
So we are hearing back from the vehicle as itself. So.
We see that we are priming the entry RCS thrusters.
I'm on Twitter trying to make sure everything's right.
Cruise stage separation.
They have confirmed it. Awesome.
In about 1 minute, Curiosity's EDL software will wake up and begin final preparations for entry. The first action it'll take is to fire some warm-up pulses to get the entry RCS thrusters going. The pulses will ensure the spacecraft will get the thrust that we want that starts when it's counting on it.
So the official Twitter for Curiosity has just asked, did we lose something?
Drop low for a second as the signal passed by the donut of the cruise stage.
So it should be despinning itself now. And the cruise balance NASAs will be ejected.
We are seeing RCS warm up.
Flight, this is enough.
Yeah, flight, go ahead.
Could you check with the AIS whether we should be seeing one-way data from the station?
Base, is a copy?
Curiosity is reporting that it is spinning down and turning to entry.
Flight HS, we've been one way for a while now. Roger that. But currently we're just seeing the tones, obviously. Roger.
Vehicle
is reporting that it has completed its turn to entry and spin down, and it has separated the cruise balance mass devices.
Excellent. 7.5 minutes till entry interface.
Okay, at this time, the vehicle's just sending heartbeat tones, just as we expect. It should be quiet for the next several minutes, hopefully. We are about 7 minutes to entry. At this time, Mars is actually pulling Curiosity in, and we're speeding up. We should be traveling around 5.4 kilometers per second on our way to about 5.9.
That's your NASA administrator there, Charles Bolden, 2-time shuttle astronaut.
So, Rob, what are your thoughts at this point?
Well, I'm very
Variation
excited.
in the pattern, antenna pattern is
This is
reflected in the
the
variation of the
this is the part that really is entry. This is where we're getting to the top of the atmosphere. The great thing is that the propulsion system's shown to be working. We're turning the vehicle. It looks like the vehicle is going to be doing its entry job very well. I'm very excited about that. Everything is going very well. So make sure everyone keeps their eyes on the television, because we might actually get some pictures if all goes well. Then we might be murky and covered with dust when we first land, but we might get some pictures today.
Wow.
6 minutes.
Just a few minutes after landing.
Excellent. Okay, we're standing by.
Thank you.
12,100 miles per hour. 640 miles above Mars. 1,640 miles from Gale Crater. 5 minutes, 45 seconds to entry, 12 minutes, 53 seconds to touchdown.
We're just under 6 minutes to entry. We're continuing to wait for entry interface. The spacecraft is continuing to send heartbeat tones, telling us that everything is okay and there's nothing significant to report. This is as expected. It should be quiet for a little while, at least.
Okay, since we're getting lifetime delayed signals right now, MSL is actually on the surface right now. Just to let you know. In reality, where we're actually at right now, it's on the surface. We're just listening for those signals.
It's on the planet?
Yep, it's on the planet. We just have to wait for the signal. Yeah! Good job, Rover! We don't know whether you're there or not. Good job, Rover / we won't talk about that.
We're now 5 minutes to entry.
12,275 miles an hour.
Everything is good.
7 minutes of terror, right?
Coming up on it.
Be up to about 5.5 kilometers per second.
500 miles above the surface. 1,400 miles from Gale Crater. 12,320 miles per hour.
The vehicle's flying through space. It's actually in deep space still. In fact, not until after we hit the entry point will we actually begin to feel the force
4.5 minutes
gradually building on that heat shield. So really, it's still a spacecraft. It hasn't actually become an aircraft. But we've checked out its rockets. It's actually used to turn the vehicle. It's turned to the right attitude, and that means it's ready to go. And as soon as we start feeling the atmosphere, it'll start doing its role to get to the turn as part of the guidance that it does. It starts off with a right bank, and it will make a left bank, and then make another right bank as it makes its way to the landing site.
So it's a capsule right now.
It's a capsule. It's just a bare capsule, nothing looking out, just the radios is the only thing that's sticking out, and that's what we're getting. We're getting tones from that vehicle right this
400 miles altitude.
We're not getting out of
1,200 miles from Gale Crater.
A little while later.
After parachute.
Actually, just after entry, about the time before parachute, just before parachute opens up.
Okay.
EDL phase dynamics.
Did that one happen?
Go ahead, dynamics.
Just FYI, OD227 runout looks like missed distance of 232 meters. Over.
So, they only missed their target
2 meters
by 232 meters.
That's correct.
Across 330 million miles. Not bad.
Roger.
Beat that, FedEx.
Okay. Switch to the TLJ.
We're at 3 minutes to entry. At this time, MRO should begin picking us up. But remember, we won't get that data for a while. We've got to store it and then send it back down here for us to decode. We're still seeing heartbeat tones. Everything looks good. spacecraft should be up to 5.6 kilometers per second.
Just to let you know, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, one of the spacecraft there that can take an image of your hat laying on the surface of Mars from orbit, will be taking imagery of MSL as it enters the atmosphere and goes through its EDL. It will take a couple weeks to get those back. It did do it with Mars Phoenix. When it landed in 2008, we were actually able to see the aeroshell and parachute fully deployed. So, pretty darn good spacecraft. And we are 2 minutes away from entry interface. 240 miles above Mars, 860 miles away from Gale Crater, 12,775 miles an hour.
2 minutes entry.
I'm running about 6 seconds ahead of them. I'm in the future.
The EDL team is reporting the latest runouts, which is
9 minutes away from touchdown signals.
Show us that the best guess of our landing target location is about 232 meters from the landing target. So, looking good so far. We're continuing to receive heartbeat tones. Everything looks good.
I'm not in control of this, just to let you know that's JPL's. So, I have my own up here, though. So.
Go ahead, Faith.
Is that close to Mars?
That last solution was with 227
that close
or
to Mars?
OD228.
That is OD227.
Thank you. You guys have now OD228 in your possession?
There will be
60 seconds.
8 for us, Faith.
That's just fine because the difference is within spinning distance.
140 miles in altitude, 600 miles uprange,
Affirmative.
12,970 miles per hour.
The vehicle will switch antennas shortly. We'll have a short dropout when that occurs.
40 seconds.
Switching to a tilted antenna that will be used through entry.
Gale Crater is within sight from MSL. 3,000 miles an hour and still gaining. 25 seconds away from atmospheric entry.
As we come up on entry, we'll expect a 2 to 3 second outage in the X-band signals to switch from the PLGA to the TLGA.
We're switching to TLGA, signals dropped. Minutes.
We just saw the signal drop that indicates we changed antennas.
Entry interface is now happening.
Again, after the switch, things are looking good.
Guidance start in 30 seconds.
Back again.
Heat shield is now beginning to heat up.
Vehicle reports entry interface.
So the vehicle is reporting that it is now in the atmosphere and can feel the effects.
Begin pressurizing the propulsion system to increase the thrust of the system. We'll use that for all the maneuvering in the atmosphere we're about to do.
Yes. Yeah, they do have sensors all over the vehicle. That's how they can tell.
We're standing by for guided start of guided entry.
Guided entry is...
Nav kan se the engine demonstrating the Doppler.
We are beginning to feel the atmosphere as we go in here. The vehicle just reported via tones that it has started guided entry.
Vehicle is now flying itself in Mars's atmosphere. Heading alignment coming up in 1 minute. 22 miles in altitude, 150 miles uprange, 11,000 miles per hour and dropping, 10,500 miles an hour, 10,000. Pulling about 9 Gs of deceleration at the moment.
It's starting its first bank reversal.
First bank. Now under 7,000 miles per hour. 12.5 miles in altitude, less than 100 miles uprange.
We have seen peak deceleration. We've passed through peak heating and peak deceleration. It is reporting that we are seeing Gs on the order of 11 to 12 Earth Gs.
Flight GDSA.
GDSA flight go.
We are processing data from Odyssey.
Odyssey has acquisition.
We are now getting telemetry from Odyssey. All right, reversal 2 complete.
Copy, bank reversal 2 complete.
Thanks.
Heading alignment in 5 seconds. 55 miles
We have a
uprange.
connection, but we actually do not have any data yet.
Hang tight.
Copy. We can expect some intermittent contact at this time as the signal increases to respectable levels.
There we go. Now seeing and we have RCDP is
and copy.
And visualization is updated. We've entered heading alignment. There you go.
It's currently flying itself.
Curiosity is no longer trying to control how far it's flying downrange, and it's just heading directly for the target.
End of range control, air use minus 1.2 kilometers.
Minus 1.2.
So about 120 meters within where it should
The
go.
team is reporting that we are, that things look pretty good at the end of range control. We have converged a lot of the error, and we should be heading for the target.
Goodness gracious. That's accurate.
Flight EDL, TDS warning is okay.
Copy.
Power on.
We are seeing a tone from indicating that we have seen heating of the heat shield through the MEVI instrument. Everything looks fine. This is as expected.
Currently at 10 miles
During the
altitude.
setting alignment phase, we're flying almost horizontally like a plane. We're going about Mach 2.4 at an altitude of 17 kilometers or so.
Now under 10 miles up, 17 miles downrange, 1,100 miles an hour.
Vehicles saying that everything is fine during heading alignment. We are standing by for straighten up and fly right.
Parachute coming up very, very soon.
Vehicles continue to decelerate. We're down to about Mach 2. As a reminder, we should have parachute deploy around Mach 1.7.
Parachute deployment in 5 seconds.
We've begun entry balance mass jettison. Predicted minimum downrange is 1.597 kilometers.
EDL ops, Odyssey systems on EDL ops.
Heat shield separation in 5 seconds.
Parachute deploy. Parachute.
Heat shield should be separated.
Thrusters have been re-enabled. We will control our attitude on shoot. We are decelerating.
Ridge mode under
Our tachometer is decelerating and descending. We're at 150 meters per second.
Currently coming down to 220 miles an hour.
Phase. Come back again with wrist mode dynamics.
Wrist mode is nominal.
We're at 9 kilometers and descending.
Please active. Valid range.
Net filter converged with a velocity correction of 0.7 meters a second.
We've tied the ground with the radar.
Now to the kilometers.
So the radar is currently hitting the ground and figuring out how slow it needs to go.
Occultation as expected. We're using by the time the MLE engines in preparation for power flight.
Backshell separation in 40 seconds.
We're down to 90 meters per second at an altitude of 6.5 kilometers descending.
Please work, Tony Stark. 30 seconds.
Flight EDL, we got some Tweedo warnings. It is in battle forward mode, so it should power through.
Director of Communications at this time. We may have lost it already. We're down to 86 meters per second at an altitude of 4 kilometers and descending.
10 seconds to backshell separation.
We've lost tones from Earth at this time. This is expected. We're continuing on Odyssey telemetry.
Odyssey now has control. Should be separated and coming down under descent stage.
Equals minus 10.8 meters, vertical velocity of minus 80.8 meters per second.
Start enabled, standing by for backshell separation.
Signals Odyssey is still strong.
We are in powered flight.
In powered flight. So that means the jetpack is firing.
We're now to 1 kilometer descending, about 70 meters per second.
Oh my goodness.
Down to 50 meters per second.
50 meters per second.
500 meters in altitude. Standing by for sky crane.
Standing by for the cables.
Constant velocity accordion nominal. Altitude error 5.9 meters.
We found a nice flat place. We're coming in ready for sky crane.
Touchdown in 3 seconds,
Down to 10
approximately.
meters per second. 40 meters altitude.
Touchdown should be happening right now.
Sky crane has started.
Sky crane has started. It is working. Stand by, everybody.
Signal to Odyssey, remain strong.
Yeah, UDL configured.
Stable.
Telemetry.
Yep, stable.
MSL should be on the ground.
UHF is good.
It's down! It's over! The data for my grad school is here. Descent stage is out of safe distance. It has touchdown successfully.
Waiting for images.
We're so nasty here.
Images are starting to come down.
Images are coming down. Wow. So everybody look at the screen. We're going to see images coming in very, very soon.
Coming down.
Images.
Odyssey data is still strong.
Odyssey data is very strong.
It worked.
It always works. It always works.
Fantastic.
Never rumors have broken.
At this time, we're standing by. Images.
None of them have failed just yet.
Thumbnails are complete. You got thumbnails.
Okay, so going to be itty bitty pictures. Yeah! Wheels down.
Yeah, wheels down on Mars.
Don't do a proper hug on the other side.
Keep watching, guys. Keep watching the screen. There's more stuff.
Okay. So here we are. We're going to start. Go ahead.
Okay.
So we have landed out at the time we thought we would, and we now have our first image.
We have our first image. This we've got is a 64 by 64 thumbnail. The front, a rear has-cam image. You can see the shadow there. I'm not sure exactly which our orientation is of the vehicle, but we're looking through it now. I think in just a few minutes we might get even a larger 250 to 256 frame pixel image of that same end. So we're looking at the shadow. See, the horizon is actually the distance. You can't really tell that. So we're looking actually at the shadow of this late afternoon sun.
You gotta remember, some of these people have spent 10 to 15 years working on this project, so they're very, very excited.
And it does have a dust cover on it.
It does have a dust cover, but it's the dust, the cover is the problem. It's the fact there's dust in the air because we have just blown dust all over the place.
William,
whether it's
come to the front desk. Your dad is here. That way you can celebrate together.
So there could be more.
There could be more. If we wait, we might get, oh yes! This is the
high resolution. There it is. Yes. You get an image, you get an image, you get an image. We all get images.
Mars! I can't believe it. This is unbelievable. We might get another one of these, and if we're lucky, before Odyssey goes away, we'll get 2 more of these same images going the other side of the vehicle, and also probably Dusty. This is amazing.
So dust on Mars takes longer to settle due to the fact that there is less atmosphere, and it's also 1/3 of Earth's gravity on Mars.
So that is one of Curiosity's rover wheels
exactly.
on the surface of Mars.
Yes. Oh wow! Now we have another image coming down. This is a view looking the other direction. It's still being processed. You'll see it in just a second here.
Give it a moment.
This is another thumbnail image.
Is that a shadow?
That's the shadow
of the
rover. Curiosity rover on the surface of Mars.
Thank you. The Odyssey transition is about to end. It's about to set below the peak of Mount Sharp very shortly. So this is about all the data we're going to get, but things look great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It worked. She is very, very happy, and I do not blame her at all. So there's going to be a party in Pasadena tonight.
And we're watching it live.
And we're watching it live, yes. I mean, we have a lot of data to go over tonight. Not party.
Now can we eat the peanuts?
There's the peanuts. Told you.
If anybody in the MSA is listening, you should check out our target location on this current fly through. Anyone in the MSA is online, you should watch this flight.
Don't know if they're going to be showing any more pictures because there's no satellites above MSL at the moment. So Odyssey is out of range. I'm not sure where MRO is. I can now finally pull out on the planet and look. Let me take a peek. I'll look real quick to see if there's anything coming on its way.
It looked like MRO was going behind.
Will probably push us over our time limit here at the Space Center, so. Yes. Yes. Okay, so the question up here is why did they change the method of landing? So they did not use airbags for this like they did the previous ones, and that's because this rover is way too heavy to drop in with airbags. It'd be basically like dropping a car with airbags. It just wouldn't end very well. Yep, so the rover is so big and so heavy that they needed to drop it directly on the surface. So, and just to let you know, we do have some summer space workshops coming up. On August 13th, we're going to have the Earth and the Moon.
9 minutes of this.
How do we measure distance?
I recorded 9 minutes of this.
From 10 to 11:30 and 12 to 1:30.
Guess what's happening?
We have microgravity and living in space on August 14th. We have Is There Sound in Space on Wednesday, August 15th. How High is High on Thursday, August 16th. And The Future on Friday, August 17th. And those are open from 10 to 11:30 for grades 3 and 4. And then from 12 to 1:30 for grades 5 and 6. If you'd like to register, please call 562-231-1200. It's $11 per class and a limit to 20 students per class. So do those because Pam Liesma, NASA's Excellence in Teaching Award 2010 in the front row, is teaching those classes. We love you, Pam. So as you can see, we currently have a rover sitting in the middle of a crater on Mars.
The administrator of NASA, Charlie Bolden. Welcome and congratulations. We're on Mars again.
We're on Mars again. I'll tell you, it's just absolutely incredible. It doesn't get any better than this.
What was it like for you? Were you on pins and needles just as much as we were?
I was a basket case. And I was really on pins and needles, and you know, it was the irony was we were sitting there saying we know we're on the ground, we just don't know what kind of shape we're in. So to hear the calls come, saying everything was all right, it was great.
And how about seeing the pictures?
This is, I mean, that's incredible, and it's a huge day for the nation. It's a huge day for all of our partners that have something on, you know, on Curiosity, and it's a huge day for the American people. So, as I told people as we went around earlier tonight, everybody in the morning should be sticking their chest out saying, "That's my rover on Mars," because it belongs to all of us.
Well, that's what I'll be doing tomorrow.
So the question
Well, thank you so much for dropping by. I know that you're getting ready for our news conference. We are so glad and so pleased you could join us.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for carrying us through this whole thing and making the public able to see what's going on here. I've been watching you, and it's been great.
It's a good day. All right. In a moment, we will have Dr. Charles Alachi, but let's go back to the room for a bit.
Okay, so the question was, how did I know what time it was on Mars? So we have Mars's day is 24 hours and 40 minutes long. It's about 43 minutes longer than a day here on Earth. So we basically picked the time back in the 70s that Mars would start at, and we've been working with that time since then. So we've been keeping that time and following it since then. So that's how we know, because NASA has been keeping time on Mars since Viking 1 landed on the surface in 1976. So right now at Gale Crater, it's currently 6:23 a.m. in the morning. We can also look at where Mars is right now, and we can guesstimate where the time should be at.
It is my distinct pleasure to welcome with us President Obama's science advisor, John Holdren. Thanks for joining us. It was such a pleasure to have you join us for this big landing.
Well, I'm very happy to be here tonight. Very happy to have seen this incredible accomplishment with this Mars landing.
What does this landing mean for the nation?
Well, it's an enormous step forward in planetary exploration. Nobody has ever done anything like this. We are actually the only country that has landed surface landers on any other planet. But this lander is vastly bigger, vastly more capable, much more complicated to bring in. Many new technologies had to work in perfect succession and perfect synchronization for this to happen. It was an incredible performance by the Jet Propulsion Lab, by NASA, by the teams around the country who had contributed to this, and indeed partners from around the world.
So what does this mean? What future implications could we be seeing in this now that we've landed on Mars?
Well, this is by far the most capable device, set of instruments we've put up for determining whether Mars ever could have supported life. And of course, the question of whether there was ever life on Mars is an enormously important scientific question, almost a philosophical question, relating to our place in the solar system and our place in the universe. So we stand to learn a tremendous amount from this Curiosity Mars Science Laboratory. It really is.
Yeah, so really good question.
It's going to do incredible things.
How do we...
With all science experiments.
So how do we know we haven't taken any microorganisms to Mars accidentally? Well, they do work on a process to sterilize the spacecraft. So they bake it at about 800 degrees Fahrenheit for 40 hours. And then they also put it in a vacuum chamber for 72 hours. And then, of course, on the 9-month journey to Mars, it's sitting at about negative 200 degrees Fahrenheit in a near-perfect vacuum and being bombarded by solar radiation all the way out. So anything that survived that process on Earth is most certainly dead on its way to Mars. So that's how we know that it did that. So yeah, no problem. If you have any other questions, you can come on up here and I'll try to answer them as best as I can.
So much for joining us. I know everyone's excited. There will be a news conference at about 11:15 our time, Pacific time, and it's a good day, and thank you for being here.
It's a great day. Thank you very much.
Fuel remaining at flyaway. Sorry, Bentoma, we have 140.6 kilograms. For step 16, we we'll need photo confirmation of descent stage location. Step 17, offset between rover z-axis and gravity vector of 4.37 degrees.
Yes.
And finally, in step 18, we have our navigated Lat-1 calculation, which is negative 4.591817 degrees, longitude of 137.440247 degrees, and that gives us a navigated range to target of 2.2 279.
All right, well, they are in the midst of the post-landing poll.
Very good
Let's take a
stuff.
moment now to introduce you to JPL Director.
Absolutely. I mean, this was particularly so exciting, and things went so fast. But as soon as I saw the parachute actually open and was slowing down, I told Charlie Bolden, we're halfway there. And then it was just so exciting. You know, it's like a movie.
So how does it feel to be back on Mars?
It feels fantastic. You know, at 9:15 earlier today, I went out, looked at Mars, which was setting. And I said, in an hour and 15 minutes, it's going to be different. You know, there's going to be the pre-curiosity landing and the post-curiosity landing. And this is exciting on behalf of all the world, NASA, the public. This is one of the most exciting things I've seen.
Absolutely. And what do you look forward to now?
Well, we're looking forward, now that we did this one, we're looking forward for the discoveries that this mission will make. We're looking forward for going again to Mars and continuing to go to Mars, going to Europa, go to all the planet. This is the mighty things that our agency is doing for the American people.
A wonderful, mighty thing.
Absolutely.
Dr. Alati, thank you for joining us. I'm going to let you go to a news conference. Again, we are expecting a news conference at about 11:15 Pacific time. And for those of you who have been trying to go to the NASA websites, we do understand that all of them have gone down because all of you have been going to them, looking for the images and looking for this coverage. There is one available. We have a super of the one remaining website that is available. Let me read that to you. It's mars.jpl.nasa.gov/MSL/raw. This is where you can see the images that just came back from Mars. Let's go back to the room.
I see them! There they are! Woo!
You crazy people!
Over here, John.
They're now very famous.
We should have more rock stars like them.
Yes.
All right, let's give them one more round of applause now that we've got them all up here. Thank you very much.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Mars. I mean, to NASA. About an hour and a half ago, I went outside and looked toward the west, and I saw Mars there, and I said, in an hour and a half, you are going to have a visitor. And the planet smiled, and I knew that we were going to have good luck. So with this, I want to introduce you our fearless leader, Charlie Bolden.
Boy, I'll tell you, Charles, thanks very much. First of all, just let me say thanks very much to the entire team and all the teams not here. Some of the teams in places like Canberra, Australia, and up in Goldstone, because the Deep Space Network was what made it possible for us to be getting all the data and everything. So, you know, but today, right now, the wheels of curiosity have begun to blaze the trail for human footprints on Mars. Curiosity, the most sophisticated rover ever built, is now on the surface of the red planet, where it will seek to answer age-old questions about whether life ever existed there on Mars, or if the planet can sustain life in the future. This is an amazing achievement, made possible by a team of scientists and engineers from around the world, and led by the extraordinary men and women of NASA and our Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Nothing in robotic planetary exploration is harder, more technically challenging, or as risky as landing on the surface of Mars. And I know most of you are saying, how can he be saying that? It just looks so easy. Trust me. Historically, counting all the missions by all countries, the odds of success are about 40%. The recent U.S. record is better, with now 6 successful missions, including now 4 landings. And I'm going to stray from my script here for a moment, which is always dangerous. But tonight, and I'm probably not going to include all the countries, but tonight there are at least 4 countries, and I won't name them, who are on Mars. and they're on Mars because they went with the United States. So I know this may sound a little strange in this international environment, but I want everyone to understand what I say and what I mean when I say, you know, our leadership is going to make this world better. Tonight, as incredible as our feat was tonight, we just succeeded one more time in raising the bar even higher. New technologies never invented or attempted before were created for this incredible journey. Curiosity's final descent was dubbed 7 minutes of terror because in its 7-minute trip to the surface, it had to slow down from 13,000 miles an hour to 0. And I think you've heard this before. That's like driving 65 miles an hour on a freeway and coming to a complete stop in about 2.1 seconds. Hundreds of other things had to go just right, including a parachute slowdown at supersonic speed, 8 rocket engines to power a final descent and final soft landing by a new sky crane landing system. Curiosity will spend the next 2 years seeking answers to one of humanity's oldest questions, as it investigates whether conditions have favored development of microbial life on the red planet. President Obama has laid out a bold vision for sending humans to Mars, and today's landing marks a significant step toward achieving this goal. And now it's my pleasure to introduce to you a very dear friend of mine. He is the President's Science Advisor, the Director of the Office of Science and Technology Policy, and a guy who was sweating through this. And as he told me a little while ago, he thought he was going to throw up at one point. And he's probably mad because I told you that, but my friend, Dr. John Holt.
I wanted to start by saying thank you for sharing that, Charlie. Well, today on Mars, history was made on Earth. The successful landing of Curiosity, which is, as Charlie has said, the most sophisticated roving laboratory ever sent to another planet, marks what is really an unprecedented technological tour de force. It will stand as an American point of pride far into the future. It's also just the latest example of a long-standing truth about the United States, that even the longest of odds are no match for America's unique blend of technical acumen and gutsy determination. And that's certainly for all of the folks at JPL, at Caltech, at NASA, and our partners whose instruments, as Charlie has pointed out, were on this, this lander. Big thanks are due to all of them. Our continued preeminence and progress in space and here on Earth in other domains such as biomedicine and healthcare, clean energy, national security, advanced manufacturing, all of this depends on our continuing commitment to science, technology, and innovation, and the passion for adventure that has driven us to explore new worlds. By sustaining our investments in basic research and exploration, we ensure that America will remain at the forefront of the scientific frontier. So I really want to personally congratulate on behalf of myself, but also on behalf of my boss, President Obama, the team here at JPL at NASA and around the country that contributed to this spectacular achievement. I can only imagine what incredible data and new understandings are going to be uncovered in the coming days, months, and years because of this success. Landing the Mars Science Laboratory rover, Curiosity, on the surface of the red planet was, by any measure, the most challenging mission ever attempted in the history of robotic planetary exploration. And if anybody has been harboring doubts about the status of U.S. leadership in space, well, there's a 1-ton automobile-sized piece of American ingenuity that is and it's sitting on the surface of Mars right now, and it should certainly put any such doubts to rest. President Obama has challenged America, as Administrator Bolden just said, to send humans to Mars in the 2030s. And Curiosity is going to provide critical information about the red planet and what our astronauts will find once they arrive.
The administration is committed to a vibrant and coordinated strategy of Mars exploration and planetary exploration more generally, and continuing America's leadership here on Earth and throughout the solar system. So congratulations again, and long live American curiosity. Thank you.
Here comes the rest of the EDL team, the Mars Curiosity team entering right now. They are quite happy.